जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम टू डेफ टॉक्स। दिस इज आदि अचिंत। आइए समझें जियोपॉलिटिक्स को एक भारतीय नजरिए से।
So India has a mindset where it hits, it punches below its weight. We have to punch not above our weight. We have to punch not below our weight. We have to increase our weight and punch the post.
ये हमारा सिद्धांत है। हम घर में घुस के मारेंगे।
You know, victims of terrorism do not sit together with perpetrators of terrorism to discuss terrorism.
जय हिंद, जय भारत, namaskar to everybody. I have with me in the same color t-shirt Arindam साहब, who's want to talk to us कि साहब यूरोप में क्या हो रहा है यार। ये तो यूरोप तो पूरा मतलब बोलते हैं ना दल बदलू। Slow and steady you can see the change of Europe into the right. Although interesting चीज ये होगी कि यूरोप की जो पॉलिटिक्स है वो हमारी अपनी पॉलिटिक्स से थोड़ी ज्यादा डिफरेंट नहीं होगी, क्योंकि वहां पर भी खींचातानी शुरू हो जाएगी। बट ये खींचातानी का क्या गेम है एंड व्हाट कैन भारत गेन, लूज, थ्रेट, एडवांटेज आउट ऑफ इट, लेट्स डिस्कस। नमस्कार जी, वेलकम बैक टू द शो एंड आई थिंक इज द फर्स्ट आफ्टरनून सेशन। हाँ,
Yeah. This is my first afternoon session.
तो बताओ यार, हाउ डू यू सी these elections?
There are several lines of thought that emerges. Now, where do you want me to start? I'm assuming that whoever is watching the show understands and has got an idea about what is the European parliamentary election, and at the end of it, how does it look right now? वो तुमको जो भेजा था ना, that rainbow वाला spectrum.
ठीक है, I'll put that up.
Yeah, if you can put that up, so we can talk a little bit about it, and then we can move into. So as of now, okay. So as of now, what it looks like is that what the mainstream media is saying, which is that the center-right group called the European People's Party, which Ursula von der Leyen is perhaps the most famous face of, is going to hold. The other major point being that the right-wing groups, now इसमें मेरा personal एक take है ये left-wing और right-wing this terminology को लेके, जिसको मेरे को मौका मिला तो I'll talk a little bit about, but because they are being called right-wing groups, let us call them right-wing groups. Right-wing groups like ECR with Italian PM Giorgia Meloni is their leader. They are a collection of different right-wing parties from different Euro states. Then you've got the ID party, which is led by Marine Le Pen. That is also that is comparatively right as far as ECR is concerned. That is a far right group as far as ECR is concerned. They also have their sustenance from different far right political parties within Euro. And uske saath Le Pen ke saath you've got Matteo Salvini also, who's Giorgia Meloni's coalition partner. So these are the couple of crucial faces in that party. Then you've got the non-aligned group, the leftist SND group. Green Party, incidentally, is also there, which has taken a big bad hit. Right. So when it comes to the latest seat counts, EPP stands at 190 and it's taken the highest number of seats. ECR, which is Giorgia Meloni, stands at 76 seats. ID group, which is Marine Le Pen group, stands at 58 seats. Surprisingly, the AfD party of Germany, which is also a right party, which was kicked out of ID following some corruption thing and something pertaining to China and Russia, etc., but they are still at the sidelines. They're very much in the game. They have got about 15 seats. तो अगर हम ये 76 plus 58 plus 15 को ऐड करें, हालांकि ऐड करने का पोजीशन में नहीं है, because these parties have got a lot of differences between themselves, then we've got about 149. So 149 second largest non-cemented group में आ रहा है. Now, let me share with you a couple of interesting things as far as the voting pattern is concerned. Macron has got 14.6% vote compared to Le Pen, who has got 31.3% vote. Germany overall, right wing has got about 40 to 45% vote. Scholz is standing at 13%. Italy, Brothers of Italy, Meloni, etc., all put together about 28.7%. Hungary has taken a little bit of a hit. Even then, Hungary stands at 44.81% right votes. Okay. Spain, which is notoriously socialist, has got the right wing party, which is secured the third position. Now, Green Party is the one that has lost a lot of seats. Green Party is the one party that has lost a lot of its impact. Also, it looks like Europeans are, not
Poland.
particularly, very impressed with their climate change agenda, etc. Now, as far as creation of a majority and creation of a government is concerned, the European parliamentary, leadership is concerned, EPP is going to be the leading party, and EPP last time maybe center or लेफ्ट विंग पार्टी से अपना कोलिशन किया था, इस बार भी वो वही करेगा. एंड दैट इज वेयर माय क्वेश्चन ऑफ माय थिंग ऑफ क्वेश्चनिंग देम कि ये लोग असल में राइट विंग है, लेफ्ट विंग है, क्या है, एंड व्हाई आर दे यूजिंग राइट विंग लेफ्ट विंग का क्लासिफिकेशन कम्स इनटू अंडरलाइट. बिकॉज़ सी ईपीपी इज they call EPP a center right party. If it is actually a right party, why is it aligning with the left parties, the SNDs, the Green parties, etc., which are clearly leftists? And why are they not aligning with parties, with groups like ECR and ID, Independent and Democracy of Marine Le Pen? यहाँ पे जो चीज मेरे को समझ में आ रहा है आदि, वो ये है कि like India, Europe is also divided between nationalists and globalists.
Globalists.
Okay.
यही
Yeah.
प्रॉब्लम है,
So
बहुत प्रॉब्लम
yeah.
है वहां पर.
लेकिन कहानी क्या है, ये लोग यूरोपियंस को टोपी पहनाने के लिए राइट विंग लेफ्ट विंग कर रहे हैं. Why? Because Europe has got a big bloody hangover about right wing, because the last time the right wingers were in power, you've seen what happened, Second World War, etc. So they know that by putting in this right wing wala tag, they are immediately sort of facilitating the average Europe back to Second World War.
Scaring people, हाँ.
Yeah. नहीं तो यूरोप में राइट विंग उस हिसाब से है ही नहीं, बिकॉज यूरोप इज लार्जली सोशल डेमोक्रेटिक. आज यूरोप इतना सोशल डेमोक्रेटिक है, इतना ये लोग को गवर्नमेंट से फायदा मिलता है बोल के ही ना, ऑल दिस इमिग्रेंट्स आर गोइंग एंड फ्लडिंग. दे वांट टू लिव ऑफ गवर्नमेंट लार्जेस्ट एंड दे डोंट वांट टू डू एनीथिंग, एंड गवर्नमेंट इज बाउंड टू पे यू, व्हिच इज अ सॉलिड सोशलिस्ट स्ट्रक्चर. तब तुम इसमें लेफ्ट विंग राइट विंग क्या ला रहे हो? And these guys, this Le Pen and all, they are not calling out for dismantling the socialist structure which is there. If you follow the policy of, if you follow what she says, if you follow what Meloni says, if you follow what Orban says, they are talking about a couple of things. Because put your nation first, which is a nationalist policy. So ये right wing का पता नहीं, ये right wing left wing क्यों करते रहते हैं. But anyway, that was my personal understanding. As far as France is concerned, we all know Macron has called for snap elections. अब एक class of analysts are thinking that this could be Macron's चाल, basically ploy, to let Marine Le Pen govern for a while, and he's expecting that Marine Le Pen would mess up and people would be fed up with her, and then you've got a presidential election which is coming in 2027 and Macron is going to win. I put up a tweet the other day.
Sorry, but isn't it Macron's last year now? I mean, this is his last try, right? He can't 3 term हो गया ना वो.
हाँ, तो उसका पार्टी का कोई आएगा ना 2027 में.
बट इसका अपना तो खत्म हो गया, राइट?
इसका अपना शायद खत्म हो गया, या. So my thing is that, what I said in that tweet is that why is he expecting his party to be re-elected? I mean, even if Marine Le Pen screws up, the French people might consider her screw up to be better than Macron's party screw up.
Correct.
Okay, so he's taking he thought
right language.
Sorry?
At least he says the right thing, right language, जो उनको सुननी है. Immigrants and इन चीजों में ज्यादा वो बात करती है.
Okay, now Germany AfD is back with a bang. उसके against जो corruption charges था, वो उसने सीट लेके सीट win करके दिखा दिया कि those things don't matter. And Olaf Scholz is like, he has always been a kind of a clownish kind of a person. उसमें लीडरशिप का तो कुछ था ही नहीं, दिखता भी नहीं था. अभी तो और भी नहीं है. सिटिंग देयर विद 13% 14 कितना, हाँ 13% वोट, एंड ही इज कंसीडरिंग हिमसेल्फ टू बी द लीडर ऑफ द कंट्री. अभी इंटरेस्टिंग सा चीज है, ऑस्ट्रिया, बेल्जियम का एलेक्स टिक्रू हैज रिजाइंड. Right wing nationalist parties have gained a large number of supporters and votes, etc. Poland में भी the right wing vote grab has gone up. अभी डोनाल्ड टस्क है, वो थोड़ा नेटो के साथ, यूरोपियन यूनियन के साथ अलाइंड है, बट उसका इमिग्रेशन पॉलिसी थोड़ा मतलब
गड़बड़ है.
it's it's looking a little shaky. Sometimes it swings right, sometimes it swings left. So people probably are just showing their irritation with him. So the hard right wing vote grab has gone up as far as Poland is concerned. Now, अभी जहां तक क्या बोलते हैं, लॉन्ग टर्म जहां तक सवाल है कि इसका कैसे ये अफेक्ट करेगा, देखो एक बात तो है कि दिस द the individual voting pattern of this different countries like Austria and France and Germany etc, the way they voted, ये लोग का जब अपना इलेक्शन आएगा, that might be a big blow in the face of the West,
The current establishment. Correct.
yeah.
That's
If
interesting.
that happens, if that happens, now I am expecting more corporate money to be poured in the left liberal borderless, the globalist parties, due to the rise of this right wing movement, so called right wing nationalist movement. Okay, now if there is this kind of a thing, which I'm guessing that corporate money coming in and their movements are being forced to, are being orchestrated to become more and more stronger, then national elections in countries like France or Germany could see serious disturbances. And whether they are organic, whether they are orchestrated from outside, whether you call them color revolution, whether you call them whatever, but there's going to be a certain amount of disturbances in this election just because of the fact that people have decided to vote for the parties that put their countries first. These are the certain problems which I see for all these nationalist parties. There is another problem with the nationalist parties is that they are not united, like like conservative and
Like us.
nationalist and like everywhere. Like I'll give you an example. Meloni, all said and done, is an Atlanticist. She
Yeah.
doesn't like Russia and she likes integration with the West. Le Pen is a Eurasianist. She likes Russia. She is pro-Russia. She looks towards European integration with the Asian subcontinent. Okay. AFD थोड़ा sideline में, ये लोग के बीच और भी बहुत सारा differences है, छोटा मोटा differences. Now these fissures, these differences, you be rest assured, Adi, would be played upon by the global liberal lobby, the globalist liberal lobby, and they
Why
are going
not?
to try and do everything that they can. Halaki, people are a large number of people that have voted for this nationalist parties are Eurosceptic. That is what they call them, Eurosceptics. Okay, their numbers are going up, so they have got enough reasons to be worried, and they have got enough pointers utilizing which they can try and orchestrate a different kind of a destabilization when the time comes for the elections. So
गड़बड़
this
होगा.
is so this is what my initial observation is now.
नहीं, आप जो बोल रहे हो वेरी इंटरेस्टिंग, क्योंकि मेरे को इसके अंदर एक ही ऐड चीज करना है आपका. व्हाट यू आर डूइंग इज द पब्लिक सेंटिमेंट. whatever said and done, यूरोप के अंदर पब्लिक सेंटिमेंट इज शिफ्टिंग क्वाइट अ बिट, एंड कहीं ना कहीं आप देखो कि the public sentiment is now more towards how do I put it, they don't want this nonsense of Europe is everyone's and this and that. वो सब नहीं चाहिए इनको, ठीक है. एंड ये जो the onslaught of Islamism and onslaught of ये जो आपका immigrants mostly, immigrants भी they don't have a problem. I think now the problem is coming out to be a little more open, where people are saying it's Islamism that is the problem.
Yeah.
If you see जो एक and if you just allow me 30 seconds here,
Please.
मरी ले पेन का जो डायलॉग है, Islamism, she said it very carefully. Giorgia Meloni said this very carefully. The AFD says it very carefully कि भाई AFD in Germany, Alternative for Deutschland, वो बड़ा clearly यही चीज बोलती है. If you look at what Gerrit Wilders and all these guys are saying in Netherlands, and ये भी वही चीज बोल रहे हैं. Poland is dead against this. एक जो consolidating factor which I see in Europe, and this is something which I've been kind of thinking about in this whole election drama that is taking place. Could, should, would, I don't know, be Islamism and the anti-Islamism. What are your thoughts on this?
My thoughts are a little nuanced over here. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, let me start from the beginning. See, it's Muslim migration in Europe has been there for quite some time.
Yeah,
Okay.
long time.
1945, Second World War, 1950 के बाद you have had a you have had waves after waves of Turkish immigration into Germany and other parts of mainland Europe.
Turkish, Indian,
Okay.
Pakistani, Bangladeshi.
Yeah. Now, आ रहा है उसमें. As far as Pakistani immigration is concerned, they started sometimes during the 1930s and 40s, even before Pakistan was created, chiefly to United Kingdom because of their love affair with a particular type of people from the northwest, and they were allowed to go and settle there. Now, if I were to isolate United Kingdom only, this first generation settlers that they went, they were pretty good. They were pretty decent people. उसको लेके 1940s 1950s में you wouldn't see a lot of hassle that the authorities have faced. This started actually mid 50s mid 60s में right of the time the Muslim Brotherhood went and established
What
itself in
happened?
Europe. हालांकि उसमें भी हम नहीं जाते हैं. Let me for 2 minutes let me consider Muslim refugees that came from East Europe also, Albanians. Okay. So you have Turkish refugees, you have Bosnia में नहीं जाएंगे. You have Turkish refugees, you have Albanians and all who came in initially 1950s and 1960s में. These guys sort of assimilated. I won't say they completely assimilated, but they sort of assimilated and they sort of किसी ने दुकान खोल लिया तो किसी ने restaurant खोल लिया. A large section of this crowd, what they did was they moved into organized crime, into the underworld.
Like Pakistanis today.
हाँ, खालिस्तानीज तो मतलब उस लेवल पे जाने के लिए खालिस्तानीज को बहुत सारे जन्म चाहिए, वो उसमें है नहीं. When we talk about a Turkish underworld, when we talk about an Albanian underworld, okay, we are talking about them, first thing, them replacing the local warlords.
Yeah.
Okay. And
They're
then
hard
taking
guys.
over.
Very
They're
hard
hard
guys.
And
Yeah.
and the underworld, maybe you need to have a vision. Now, why I'm using this, why I'm like sort of dwelling on this underworld thing is because if you mark what I said organized violence. Organized violence मतलब तुम्हारे gang के साथ मेरा gang का fight हो रहा है. If it comes out in the open, yes, and if there's a pedestrian who's walking past, he might get shot. But my primary target is not that guy. My primary target is not that innocent civilian. My primary target is probably a territory distribution or a territory realignment between your gang and my gang. Okay. Now, why have government over the years allowed a little bit of organized crime and organized violence to survive? Because they don't upset the economy. वो लोग local अपना जाके वसूली करता है, हफ्ते का कुछ पैसा लेता है, but the peace and quiet and the order is largely not disturbed. Later on, just give me a couple of minutes, you'll understand the differences. Later on, what happens is this drug. Okay, what was their target? Their target was basically drug movement, 50s and 60s underworld movement. Later on, kidnapping happened. Now, this was the first step where organized violence started gradually moving into unorganized violence. Kidnapping started, they started kidnapping and grooming the white Europeans. This happened after 2000 something, when the Chechenians started coming and settling there. Okay. Now there was a little bit of a muscling. Now, if you, I'm sure you watched Godfather. When you had Godfather calling in for this meeting with Virgil Sollozzo, the Turk who came and who said, we want to do drugs, and Godfather said, I don't want to do drugs. And then Santino says, we don't do it, somebody does it tomorrow. That's the same thing which happened, that all this while they were into all your, drugs and everything, the underworld mostly, minding their own self, sticking to their own business, inflicting the minimum amount of harm to the middle class or to the general, locality, and they were only on the absolute downtrodden bottom of the society, the drug addicts. When the Chechens got into human trafficking, sooner or later, agar wo nahi karega to humko karna padega, the Albanians also got into it. Now, fast forward to today, 2015, 2017, what has happened is that, this influx of Middle Eastern and Afghan and North African refugees, the organized violence is not organized anymore. Now it has taken form of a disorganized violence, on an unorganized violence, where you see somebody stabbing a pedestrian, somebody shooting someone, somebody driving a truck over someone, and all under the name of Islam.
True.
So the big difference that Europe has seen is the Europe of 1950s and 1960s was okay with a certain section of Turkish and Albanian and Bosnian and probably Chechen refugees also coming in and staying with them, as long as they stuck to the underworld, as long as they had their own parallel economy running and doing whatever the hell they wanted to, and as long as they kept the society, the visible portion of the society, undisturbed. Now these people have turned that upside down, and these people are everywhere. The 2015 onwards refugee. So Europeans, the chunk of Europeans who are seeing this, okay, mind you, a chunk of Europeans are seeing this as a problem. A chunk of Europeans are still not seeing this as a problem,
Hmm.
because these problems are largely metro in nature. These problems, with the exception of France, where it has spread quite a little bit, these problems have not spread far and wide inside their countryside. So most of the Europeans are seeing this as a very urban problem and nothing to do with me personally, because I stay 50 miles out from the town and I don't have to deal with these people. So the chunk of people that see today's Islam as a problem is seeing it because of what is happening over the past 6, 7, 10 years, 2015 onwards. So this is the point that I wanted to make. Abhi, over to you.
नहीं, आपका point correct है, but the you by the way, you've described European Islamism and the migration of Islam into Europe very, very interestingly. But the one factor that I'd like to add is that the Turkish and the Albanians and stuff like that did not ghettoize, right? They were more concerned with doing their business, danda, earn money, shoot people, this, that,
Yeah,
ye,
yeah,
wo. And the only way that they would collate together if you would touch their women,
yeah.
right? They won't get ghettoize. The problem in today's migration is that they're ghettoizing, and
Mm,
as they ghettoize, the form of Islam which changed post, I would say 79, when the Wahhabism kind of came into play, uh, from the Saudis, which they literally said everybody else is ta 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 and all that, and the whole tamasha which happens today. Uh, this, I would say, is a big difference between the previous form of uh, uh, you know Islamic migration into Europe and today's form of Islamic migration into Europe, because they're
yeah,
ghettoizing, they're
yeah,
wanting that Sharia, they're wanting that Wahhabism, they're wanting that this thing, and
yeah.
which is where the front face of the European system is changing.
Which is where the problem comes in. The
Yeah,
Turkish refugees, they went in small numbers and they went in with the intent of identifying, let's say, a Germany or a Belgium or a Netherlands as a
yeah,
sacrosanct entity where they wanted to be a part of that, that structure and
yeah,
create their
yeah.
future in whatever way.
And as a matter of fact, they were European. They used to look
They were
European. They
Europeans.
spoke
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
European. Their
They were
women were
Europeans.
open. They would
Okay.
drink. They would do all that stuff.
Yeah. While
Yeah,
these people are going with the idea that you are there, you are going to provide all the benefits that you can provide, and I am going to build my own set of whatever you call the dominant hierarchy in my own fashion, which the
yeah.
Turkish or this other guys, the 50s migrants into Europe, did not think along.
Did not
I mean,
think
they
that
did
way.
not think
They
along
were
those
not
lines.
as radical, I would say, as the guys who are running in there today. The radicalization levels are much different than what in the 50s, 60s who went in. 50s,
Yeah,
60s वाले जो गए थे, they had nothing. I mean, they went from the Ottoman Empire, टूट टाट के जो भी बचे हुए थे वहां पर चले गए थे वो. But today they are going in a very today. I mean, I don't say they are going. They are being sent
mm-hmm.
by the Brotherhood for a very different purpose.
Yeah,
Now, which is what comes down to, let's talk about the outward nature of the European Union. ये चक्कर चल रहा है पूरा पीछे से. There's a fight about this migration and stuff like that. And of course, they have challenges with their the Russia challenge, which is number one, the China challenge, which is number two, the India opportunity slash challenge is number three, and of course the US is number four. ये चार इनके वो चक्कर हैं. There is tug and push and pull happening from all directions, as a matter of fact,
mm,
right now. India has just stepped into the game, तो आप भी थोड़ा सा भी खींचना शुरू करोगे in the future, and that's where hashtag Melody comes into place. You are trying to kind of get into it a little bit. थोड़ा सा कहीं ना कहीं से कुछ एक tug निकालो, have a voice inside the European Parliament. You've also built up good relations with Hungary chap. What's his name?
mm.
Viktor
Orban.
Orban. Got good relations with the lady from Finland. And all these guys. So it's a good combination that you're trying to also play with. but you're not fully there yet. You're not in the game. So let's consider the countries, which is Russia, US, and US by US I mean the leftists and the kind of the deep state sort of a
The
thing,
globalists,
and
basically.
China. Yeah. So how do you think this is going to go forward, and how do you think Europe is going to react to this? And after that, let's talk about the opportunities and the issues that India could have.
See, I told you that United States, let's say the globalists are going to try and disrupt their national election, the subsequent national elections that are going to take place, because by now they have got an inkling of what is to come. Why do you think there's so much of alarm and there's so much of writing in the mainstream media? It's because of the fact that now they were expecting worse. They were expecting a larger share of right wing votes, but it is not. But at least the trend is there, and there's only one way this goes. The right wing voices would get louder, because now these voices are moving inside European Parliament.
Hmm.
Now you have got a Marine Le Pen who's there with a larger number of seats. You've got a Giorgia Meloni who's like sort of consolidating her leadership position and stuff like that. So these voices, there would be policy paralysis. European Union would see a lot of, हालांकि वो उसमें मतलब they're mostly a legislation body, but there would definitely be policy paralysis when it comes to a lot of things, especially the green shit that is there in Europe. Okay, so once this happens, yeah, once this happens, this is going to sort of set the agenda for the subsequent national elections that are to come, and the globalist parties, the globalist institutions would try to do everything in their control to see to it that their national election don't go in the manner that the European Parliament voting has gone. That's as far as USA is concerned, globalists are concerned. As far as Russia is concerned, I think the basic premise is accepting Marine Le Pen and that ID group in European Parliament. Everybody is pretty anti-Russian. So you've got Viktor Orban hai, theek hai, but you've got Donald Tusk, you've got Belgium, you've got Germany, you've
वो
got
सारे
Italy.
हैं, वो तो they're in the hold
हाँ,
of the globalists, so ठीक है.
हाँ. So
But even the right wingers, some of them, sorry to interject, even certain number of the right wingers are anti-Russian. For example, Meloni hates Russia. So there are certain number of the right wingers. For example, in Poland is now becoming a bulwark against Russia. So
yeah,
एक वो भी चक्कर है.
as was predicted by George Friedman a long time ago, that Poland is the next superpower, the next regional power in Europe. They are anti-Russian. So they basically consider Russia to be the main reason as far as Ukraine is concerned. They are anti-Russian. One reason for them being so vocally anti-Russian could be the fact that they are trying to play this in the mind of their audience, in the mind of their voters, that the current economic crisis and the current downturn and stagnation and etc that is going on is all because Russia invaded Ukraine, which is partially true, because you are the one that went and sanctioned Russia in the first place. No one asked you to. So and maybe the voters are buying it. Push comes to shove, if tomorrow they come to power, and if they come to power, it's a question of big if, and if they are allowed to, if they have the liberty to create their own policies going ahead, own foreign policies going ahead, I would be really interested to see how much of an anti-Russian stance these people still maintain. Okay, so I would take this anti-Russianism with a pinch of salt, because in the normal sense, in the logical sense, as long as you're thinking like a sane person, it pays to maintain good relationship with Russia, because that is where your energy dependence comes from. And तुम्हारे पास आज energy dependence नहीं है बोल के you are having to buy Russian oil through India. तुम्हारे पास energy dependence नहीं है बोल के your factories are being very nicely shipped out to the US, which is in turn giving rise to all this economic crisis that you're facing, and you're in unemployment and things like that. And इसका मतलब reason क्या है, इसका antidote क्या है यार? Keep good relationship with Russia, re-establish your oil and gas connection, re-establish your energy corridor, and everything is settled.
आपने pipeline उड़ा दी भैंस क्या?
उड़ा दिया, yeah. So as I said as I said, that if they have the liberty going ahead in future to create their own foreign policies individually as nation states, I would very much be interested to see how much of the anti-Russian hatred stays.
Before we get into India, मेरे को ये बताओ, how long do you think the EU itself will survive?
Difficult, very difficult for me to say. मेरे को तो लगता नहीं उसको सर्वाइव करना चाहिए, but then you've got too much of money into it, and there's everything said and done. There is a lot of comfort factor also in EU. मतलब यूरोपियन
They
लोगों
support
का
each
ही तो
other.
यूरोपियन यूरोपियन पॉपुलेशन का ही सोचो ना.
For
I
them,
mean,
it's a good balancer against America, because otherwise America will take out एक एक करके उड़ा
yeah.
देगा आपको.
And if there is another thing, ये 2008 के crisis में, it was Germany that stood up and contributed the most. So it pays. I mean, if I were a Spain, who's been a socialist, lazy place for like the last few decades, and every time I get into trouble, I've got some industrious Northern European neighbor help me out. Why would I want to get out of bloody EU?
Correct.
EU से निकलने का सोचेगा. France would want to Germany, if Germany gets its fangs back, which America has very successfully defanged, if it gets its fangs back, then it would think of. But then again, EU का मतलब EU is a double-edged sword actually. EU से बाहर तुम निकलने का सोचोगे ना, that old fear keeps coming back.
बाहर निकलने का नहीं, I'm just saying the breakdown of the structure itself.
Disintegrate the entire structure. If you disintegrate the entire structure, let's assume EU and by extension EU के साथ साथ NATO भी, then you are going back to what I think Frederick Reichsel or it was Kijelin. ये जो NATO है ना, हाँ, जो NATO है ना, NATO is basically a German idea. Hitler wanted to create something of his own. The only thing was he wanted to be in charge. A pan-Germanic.
NATO was created by a Nazi. Let's face it. He was an ex-Nazi general, Steinberg or something like that, who wrote the charter for NATO.
No, the concept of NATO was either Rudolf Kijelin or it was Frederick Ratzel. I'm forgetting. दोनों में से एक तो भी है जिसने ये concept create किया था. You know, a pan-European identity led by Germany. तो अगर ये NATO EU disintegrate हुआ, कल को ये आएगा ना, तो फिर दूसरा problem शुरू हो जाएगा. It's again back to the drawing board of World War I and II.
So interesting part is Modi's also done some interesting moves in Europe. And when you look back, जिस तरह से Modi has been dealing with certain countries, Finland, Poland, Netherlands. The Netherlands guys seem to be very fond of Modi for some reason. I don't know what's the connection there. I have no idea. And
Geert
of course,
Wilders.
Geert Wilders, and of course Modi, Macron and Meloni.
Yeah.
He has kind of segregated the old Europe from the new Europe. Although Italy is part of the old Europe, but they're trying to kind of become the new Europe sort of a thing. That to me, I think is it's a game in real politics. It's too new to kind of make a generalization right now. नया है अभी. आप FTA बात कर रहे हो इनके साथ, IMEC चल रहा है. So right now the G7 itself kind of said that IMEC is most critical, we will go forward and this and that. So there's a lot of pro-India sentiment as far as business is concerned. And today, by the way, so one second, I'll just tell you, Bloomberg has put out a report, which is very interesting. By the way, so, we are supposed to be one of the sinking economies as far as our opposition is concerned. But, Bloomberg says, and Bloomberg obviously will say the right thing as far as Europeans are concerned. He says global investors are piling onto India's $1.3 trillion sovereign debt as they rush to find alternatives to Russia and China. So that's that $1.3 trillion is it's huge. It's a huge amount of money that you'll get leveraged by. So how do you think India's game going forward? Because most of these investors are in Europe at the end of it. ये जो sovereign debt and sovereign bonds investors होते हैं सारे यूरोप में होते हैं. How do you think India's game is going to go forward? And after that, guys, we will get into a question. So please start liking the video. Over to you.
इंडिया का मेरे हिसाब से इंडिया का एक ही गेम पे इंडिया के ऊपर फोकस करना है. देखो ये यूरोपियन पार्लियामेंट एक तो doesn't decide foreign policies.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Okay. So it is largely a legislative body. So क्या कर सकते हैं is the FTA जो the stalling European Union जो stall कर रहा है वो वाला अगर कर लेते हो then you can have trade relationship, once that gets established, that's a huge thing for India. So, which is within the ambits of a European Parliament. Geopolitically speaking, and as you rightly pointed out, that there's a lot of suspicion towards China. Russia के साथ तो भी लोग का direct problem है for God knows what reason. Um, yeah, because my personal thing is, if you can start, if you are capable of thinking beyond what the globalists are influencing you to think, that you have voted a certainly, I mean, that you have voted in a certain pattern to the right wing parties, then you should also think on your own as far as what is this animosity is as far as Russia is concerned, and how much are we influenced and how much are we not. But having said that, I'm saying that they've got problems with Russia. They've got this creeping problem with China also. I mean, everything said and done, you can't trust the Chinese. So geopolitically, that is going to be India's gain, but that is a kind of an indirect gain for India in the long run. What you pointed out is something which is very right, that individually building up relationship with existing leaders of countries like Geert Wilders or Viktor Orban and all, or probably investing in building up relationship with leaders that show some promise for the future, probably like a Marine Le Pen, is going to help India's cause. And my consideration at this point in time, as I said, is just this: भाई ETA को थोड़ा सा भी कर लो, थोड़ा सा उसको facilitate कर लो, उसको होने दो. Then you've got a lot of good things to look forward to as far as India and Europe is concerned.
We've already done a free trade agreement with the Eastern European countries, so that is something which is there, and that to me was a good pushover, because one of those Eastern European countries is part of the European Union. So आप दरवाजा उधर से भी खोल सकते हो, दरवाजा नीचे से भी खोल सकते हो, if you're able to do something with Italy or France, one of these two. Most likely it's going to be with Italy, migration agreement and all that stuff आप कर ही रहे हो. So वहाँ पर
एक
कुछ
चीज है,
जी.
एक issue है वो India would face is India has to very delicately balance its relationship with Russia with so much of anti-Russian sentiments floating about in European Union. एक चीज है.
Let me squeeze another, when you said I'm going to squeeze in another one. Defense is going to be a big game going forward. And, at the end of it, defense manufacturing is something that Europe cannot do on its own today. उसके पास option नहीं है. You see this with the Spanish coming to you for submarines, Germans running behind you for the API submarines and stuff like that. The Italians want to give you everything. I mean, it's not because it's India, because they look at actually transferring the industry here and kind of manufacturing within India as well. That to me is a leverage, or actually that to me is a leverage. What do you think about that?
That's a huge leverage theoretically. Why theoretically? देखो, I don't have much क्या बोलते हैं उसको, in-depth idea about defense industry to speak about it, but I can speak a little generally, which is the only thing that India lacks is and we've had a discussion on this, is a proper research and development facility. India lacks that R&D wala legacy. So till the time and till if you want to build yourself into a manufacturing superpower, you need to have your own R&D. So you may have a Spain and an Italy today coming to you, but do you have the capacity to create whatever these people are wanting you to create? So it is imperative for India to create a research and development sort of a mindset and research and development atmosphere and infrastructure before we want to look at ourselves as the one-stop solution for entire European defense or otherwise manufacturing needs. But yeah, as I said, theoretically, it's a huge leverage.
Yeah, it is.
If we can manage to see this through.
Yeah. It's we have to. There's no other option. We have to do it, and we've been able to do it in certain cases. For example, the AK-203 and this and that, where there are. I mean, you see the that Korean gun, the K9 Vajra and all that stuff. You've been able to do that, but it needs to be replicated multiple times and it needs to be taken forward. I think
And scaled
private,
up, scaled up.
yeah, private players in India would play a big role. For example, Adani, L&T, and all these guys should play a big role. And we saw that a little hint of it with Israel when we did. Now there's another edge drone which is coming out. So there is an opportunity that could be leveraged, and that will be a great big leverage against the globalists. That's one of the reasons why I kind of brought this question up. So guys, please like this video. Thanks Arindamji for that insight. Always, wonderful talking to you. Maza aata hai. And some people are saying you guys look like twins.
This is one comment which I keep saying.
Yeah.
दोनों गंजा दोनों
मिले ही नहीं कभी जिंदगी में. दाढ़ी यार उसका दाढ़ी थोड़ा ज्यादा काला है, मेरा ज्यादा सफेद है.
हाँ, you're white. I've got shades of black here and there.
हमारा एरियल का कमाल है, आपका थोड़ा गड़बड़ है. ममता दीदी ने आपको वॉशिंग पाउडर ठीक से नहीं दिया. अच्छा. So yeah, guys, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and let's encourage Arindam Saab to come to us at least twice a month. Right now he's doing one. We need to get him to do 2 times a month with us. I know he's writing a book and all that stuff.
मेरा वो हो जाए बॉस, मैं अभी बहुत परेशान
खींचना है अभी, कोई बात नहीं, परेशान हम भी और थोड़ा सा करेंगे आपको. चलो. And of course, yes, guys, if you can, please do contribute towards this channel using the QR code or PayPal link, which is in the description for direct contributions. या फिर super stickers, super chats. So let's ये देखो
twins.
All right, let's go. First, Herald of Chaos, thank you so much. He says AFD removed because of the prime migration plan. As I heard it, what are the chances of the plan? Because it virtually is the same as Mozambique plan. Those hooked cross guys came up with in the 30s. Or the Rwanda plan of the British.
England, yeah. AFD को इसके लिए भी रिमूव किया. AFD को चाइनीज there were some corruption charges जो with respect to China that AFD got caught, so उसको भी वो भी है. And AFD remove कर दिया. AFD को is fine, but AFD you have to remember is still significant as far as Germany is concerned, because individually they have their 15 seats or whatever number of seats that they won in Germany. So today they may stay at the sidelines of a European Parliament and may not impact as far as IND is concerned. IND group, which is the Marine Le Pen's group, is concerned. But individually and on their own, they are still big in Germany and they can still upset the apple cart of Germany. So
yeah, and plus AFD cleaned its image as of now. There are loads of hardcore Nazis that were there in that. So people are that cleaning up still needs to happen. It's not yet done. They've had some, that takeover of that town in northern Germany. They literally took over, put that flag and all that stuff.
But I think, what Aadi, there is a lot of clarification of picture as far as this Nazi thing is concerned that needs to be done in Germany, which has not been done.
That's true.
The German really need to read up Julius Evola and his views of Third Reich and his views of fascism, and I mean, really look at it. You've heard only one side of the story. You've got to, if you're a German, you've got to hear the other side of the story as well.
Yeah.
Not denying the genocide. Not denying killings.
When in 2006, Mein Kampf came into India, people wanted to read. In India, people want to read. I've also read Mein Kampf. It's a crazy, stupid book, but I read it. We like to, this thing. The kind of recrimination, and during the election, somebody there, Modi, fascist, Hitler, and all that nonsense, they actually took out this data and said, see, India read Mein Kampf. Like, what the fuck is that? So because you read a book, there is something wrong with you. I mean, ye kya hai? This is the kind of, this is the problem. This is the kind of narratives that these globalists are sitting with, which literally does not make sense sometimes. And you really wonder, yaar, पढ़ लो कभी कभार, कुछ नहीं होगा. Anita ji, thank you so much. Jyoti ji, thank you so much. And Priyank Saab, thank you so much for becoming members. Partha ji, thank you so much once again. You say, even with EU shifting, if Ursula von der Leyen is re-elected as the EU chair, an elite scheme paving the way with foreign policy, will Europeans also question elections? Interesting.
Yeah,
That's a good question.
See, Europeans are probably not going to question the Euro election, the European parliamentary election, because there would be a lot of policy paralysis, which in future is for them to see and understand. Ki, okay, our moves towards right wing has had certain impact. If this kind of a situation, the one that you've written, that the elites keep having their way inside their national elections, during the national elections happen, then there's gonna be then how European nationals, how European citizens, let's say the citizens of France, how they react is something that we would want to see. Frankly speaking, I don't have much hope because they have been neutered to a large extent. But if they react, and if they react in a way that has the right kind of an impact, trust me, I'll be very happy.
Yeah, sorry to say, but there's a thin line between the right kind of impact and what happened in the 40s. So
that's what I'm saying. I'll stick to right kind of impact, not go beyond that.
Sohamji, thank you so much. He says, Sir, Business Today published that Augusta West End privately tiled documents with big names were given to Modi ji by PM Malone. Is this real action soon? Yep. They're waiting for the 1st of July. They're waiting for the 1st of July.
Idea.
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of backending happening there.
Okay.
Chola Umpire, thank you so much. I'm Tamil, who's a Netherlands citizen. Correct me if I'm wrong. My voting strategy in the EU Parliament was to encourage more EU autonomy. In Netherlands, that is to Gerard, good for you. World thoughts. Yeah, well, European autonomy, Chola Empire, Sab, when you say European autonomy, what would you mean?
Yeah,
because
actually,
that's a little, this thing. So if you kind of help us understand this, I'll take this question up again.
Yeah, European autonomy at this point in time is listening to whatever the globalists have to say.
Yeah. If you're meaning that, then it's well understood. Agatsaji, thank you for this question about Russia, which we couldn't take up in our conversation fully. That peace summit was shit. Meloni was threatening Russia. What the heck was that? She hates Russia.
Yeah. See, Meloni is an Atlanticist. She wants to she wants her country to integrate with West in her own terms and conditions, of course. So in her kind of calculation, Russia doesn't feature. Now, whether that's Russia not featuring, whether that's a political ploy or whether she actually means it, we are too far away and we are too insulated from that to understand. But yeah, that's how things are.
But the funny thing is, she doesn't give arms to Ukraine, huh?
देखो वो भी है. Either they are calling her right, or the other side she is encouraging immigrations. So these are
weapons नहीं देती Ukraine को.
So there's a fair bit of overlapping actually.
Yeah.
And that's where I keep saying that यार ये right wing left wing का classification को छोड़ो, अभी globalist versus nationalist का classification में आओ. It is easier for people to understand.
Understand it. Vikas Khan Saab, in about a decade from now, I'm seeing a major shift in power holds. The curse of internet shall make it easy transition, alternate modes of exchange, polity, psychological warfare tactics, etc. That's true. What do you say?
Yeah.
Good comment.
Yeah. Power shift is going to happen. Power shift is happening. Aadi ka load shedding हो गया क्या? I can only see Aadi suddenly looking like he's come from a horror movie. क्या हो गया Aadi? Psychological warfare के नाम पे are you trying to scare us psychologically? Okay, Vikas. Anyway, jokes apart. Decade from now, shift to major power. देखो, major power shift has already happened. Major power shift has happened, which is why we are so agitated. Major power shift has happened right under our nose, where we thought we were fighting or we were standing for one thing, and the globalists very silently came and assumed a lot of power. A lot of power shifted to unelected globalists. A lot of power shifted to the business class, to the venture capitalists, and to the asset management companies, and to the bank, and to a lot of other things. So yes, there has been a major power shift. Can you sort of arrest that, and can you sort of bring that, that shift of power back into where it's ideally supposed to be, a kind of a nation state if you are a believer of nation state, or a monarchic system if you're a kind of a believer of monarchic system? Can you bring it back to that? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. We can hope for the best, but I don't know. I can't say don't see that happening. I cannot say I see that happening. So I don't have an answer as of now. I think we'll have to wait for Aadi to come back. And without Aadi, even I don't know. I don't have any options here actually.
Sorry about that. It's
Are you
pouring.
back?
Yeah, it's pouring where I am. Yeah, it's bloody.
Okay. And
Sorry about
I'm
that.
sitting here. I don't have any options in front of me. क्या करे? Stop करे? क्या करे? कैसे
No.
करे?
You all you need to do is sorry.
है ना?
It
So
should not happen. But if you get into that situation, there are comments you can just start going through them. I mean, it's pouring
okay,
where I am right now. Anyways,
great.
Saramani
Lucky.
ji, thank you so much. Do you think the rise of ISIS has influenced migrants and migration strategy in the EU?
ISIS is a completely different entity. The migration has been influenced by, we know what the migration has been influenced by. The migration has been influenced by 2015 onwards, the 2010 onwards, America's global war on terror, the deliberate destabilization of the Middle Eastern regimes, the deliberate destabilization of North Africa, that has pushed migration. So that has got nothing to do with ISIS.
Arpan Saab, thank you so much. You read Mein Kampf, you realize Hitler was so dumb. That's true, no question. But you need to read it to know that the guy's an idiot. I mean, but whatever said, the guy was a good painter. I just recently saw his paintings and stuff like that. Brilliant.
There are a couple of things that I intend to write about him in this book of mine. I hope you guys will read to understand a little better as to what exactly was happening in Europe during that point in time.
Yeah.
Why this guy suddenly goes bonkers and goes out and attacks Poland and attacks Russia and things like that. What was the game that was being played against him is something which you need to understand before you all of us have been pretty judgmental about him. I'm not saying he was a good man. Whatever he did was horrible. Not, discounting any of his crimes, but his initial moves, 1930s, 33, 35 wala moves, usko leke thoda sa bhi baat karenge when I finished my book. If you read, you'll understand. Okay, Aadi.
Right.
Over to you.
Rahul Saab, thank you. Muslims may not be monolithic, but Islam is. That's true. Rahul Lakshmanji, thank you so much. You say, can possible dismantling of Europe, of NATO, escalate matters between EU and Russia, ignoring US?
De-escalate. Yeah. If you don't even have to dismantle NATO, you just remove the United States ka influence out from Europe. You would see individually at least 10 to 12 European nations try to go back and build a relationship with Russia, and they would try to vie each other to be Russia's single, point of hub in Europe as far as Russian natural resources, energy supplies are concerned. You just remove the influence of uncle from there.
Most important. Parthaji, once again, thank you. He says, first time I want to go to Bihar to see the Nalanda University. Yeah, man. I want to just stand there and kind of see if something goes inside. All right. Jay says, if we today have a huge agreement with Russia on SSN or another huge defense deal, it will be a big blow to the deep state and the US. I won't be surprised there's something coming up. So just hang on till about September, October, close to the BRICS summit. Wait. JJ, thank you so much. Interesting question. He says, globalists want to bring the world under one government by subverting nationalism, patriotism. Also, anarchic ways of Bitcoin and the likes are a tool.
See, I am yet to understand the link between a global one world, one government, things like that, Charles Schwab, wet dream, and this thing, the coming of Bitcoin. वो मेरे को मैंने अभी तक नहीं समझा है. So maybe this could be a pointer. Let me go and I'll go and try to find out more about it.
To my mind, Bitcoin will be banned very soon. Yeah.
टेक्निकल क्वेश्चन बाद में कभी आंसर देना, बिकॉज अभी वो तो ज्यादा भी टाइम नहीं है. इट इज डी-डॉलराइजेशन को लेके जो भी चल रहा है, बिटकॉइन लुक्स लाइक एन ऑल्टरनेटिव, यस और नो? नो, ओके, बाद में
Sir, you
समझाना मेरे
can't
को.
see. I'll tell you basic thing. Bitcoin is based out of what? Nothing. Again,
Nothing. This one's
Right.
also based out of nothing.
nothing. So you want to go from one nothing to another nothing. Nobody's going to agree to it. Right. So it will be a based any currency. See, yeah, ek to na de-dollarization has been overblown out. What's going to happen is
Yeah.
what my opinion, and I've read enough papers on it to kind of say this is that de-dollarization will be a structure where you're not going to be trading in the dollar as much as you were. Right. So what will happen is your trading currency will change, which is already changing for a lot of countries. So you can actually technically say de-dollarization has actually happened. Now,
The reserves नहीं change.
the reserves ke andar you need to diversify. So what's going to happen is you will build your reserves in the currencies that you trade in. Right? Let's say I have you have XYZ currency, I have ABC currency, I trade with you, you trade with me. So I'll keep a little amount of your reserve and you'll keep a little amount of my reserve. Right? And a lot of it will be on gold, a lot of it will be on, a lot of people talk about basket currencies, but basket currencies ke the problem kya hota hai? How do you evaluate the basket currencies is something that nobody's been able to come up with a formula till now. But what they're trying to do is create an M-bridge. This is the latest thing which a lot of people have started up, is that how do you transfer value from one country to another country in whatever currency it may be, which may not be in the dollar itself. So for that, people are launching CBDCs, which are central bank digital currencies. Right? So the second the central bank's digital currency comes in, trading will become easier because any currency that you will trade will be guaranteed by the central bank on the day's value. The minute it becomes guaranteed and this and that, there you go. Then you can actually kind of play the game a little better. But to me, right now, an immediate de-dollarization will have massive challenges across the world.
Yeah.
Because see, you're okay. You still have a lot of this thing, but smaller countries in Africa and stuff like that will face a huge challenge. If you look at what Northern Africa, what France does there, they print the French franc there, which is Afro French franc. It's crazy that damn thing. The entire thing is printed by France. What happened in Burkina Faso and in Niger and all that stuff is actually a pushback against the French franc.
French franc, yeah.
So ये बड़ा complicated game है. It's not going to be a very easy thing to sell. अभी ये सऊदी अरेबिया का आ गया कि petrodollar and this and that. Oh यार, petrodollar, there was never a written agreement on the petrodollar. It's just a spoken word between the king and Henry Kissinger. That's it. Now the Saudis are saying, yeah, let's sign an agreement, but you give me nuclear weapon controls and nuclear weapon cover. I will recognize Israel, I will do this, I will do that, सब कुछ करूंगा मैं, but you give me this. And that deal is pretty much anytime coming to close. So जैसी वो होगा, this thing will come back. But having said that, because of what USA has done, you will find the dependency on dollar going down and down and down and down and down, slow and steady. It will happen. There is just no question. In 3-5 years, the world will not look the same as it is today. It just will not happen. So, yeah. Dami Datta Saab, thank you for this question. How safe are Indians? Very important question. How safe are Indians considering the right shift to the right wing? Who do you think are going to be clashes if Indians will be targeted or become a victim between two sides?
There is a fair chance. The kind of right wing that goes out looking for a fight and looks at people to bash, looks at specific ethnicities of people to bash, are the far right wingers. Those were there in Ukraine for a really long time, Also, interestingly, during that same time, 2014 onwards, when there was let's talk about the brown and black people bashing right wingers of Europe. They were there.
Yeah.
They went up in real numbers from 2014 onwards. That was also a time when a large number of Indians went to Ukraine, etc., to study their medicine and medicals and etc., etc., to become a doctor and all. Okay, so we have not found out too many incidents where it concerns right wingers beating up Indians and all. Having said that, there is always a tendency that if you've got too much of extreme right wing gangs moving around in areas and people who already has a kind of a prejudice towards illegal immigrants and all, there is a fair chance of confusing an Indian for a Middle East, and there is a chance of Indians you know, facing
Getting in the
this
middle of
thing.
it. Yeah.
Getting in the middle of it, being an unfortunate victim at some point in time. There is a chance.
Yeah. But I don't think it will be targeted on Indians.
No,
Is mass
it
Muslim
won't be.
migration? Sorry. Is mass
it
Muslim
won't.
migration in a deep state's plan of ethnic cleansing of Europe?
It's a very tricky this thing. It's a very tricky affair to be passing a judgment on. There can be a lot of angles, and we've covered a fair amount of those angles, me and Adi, in a couple of our podcasts as well, looking at military group people, looking at a particular set of people who are very active, who can be pushed towards East Europe. And there's a lot of theories which are floating about, but I would suggest you go back and watch those podcasts.
Shalini, I have another theory actually, which is something I'm working on. I can't prove anything right now. It's not about ethnic cleansing. It's, if you read the Charter of the Muslim Brotherhood, which is not easy to find, they talk about a takeover of Europe pretty openly. So that is something which is happening. There's no question. And the problem with the lefties is that they think that these guys will be sent in to fight their battles and play their games, but
yeah, you've got another
they're gonna
thing
be in
coming.
for a surprise. Yeah. Come on, Aadi पूरा उम्मा is radicalized है इस दुनिया में. किस दुनिया में है आप बंधु? बंधु जी, मयंक साहब, थोड़ा सा हिस्ट्री में देखो. जो current phase of radicalization as we see it today in our region, in our neighborhood, you're absolutely right. It's been there since a long time. But जो Arabic radicalization है, it is a different sort of radicalization. इसका character अलग होता है. ठीक है, तो जो आप देखते हो अपनी स्ट्रीट में और जो आप लेट्स से इजिप्ट में देखोगे या टर्की में देखोगे या सदर्न यूरोप में देखोगे, वो बिल्कुल भी कैरेक्टर में सेम नहीं है. यू एक्चुअली विल नॉट बी एबल टू रिकॉग्नाइज द सेम गाइज. करेक्ट मी इफ आई एम रॉन्ग, अरिंदम जी.
No, it's, you're absolutely right. And in fact, Middle Eastern radicalization was also post 79. Wahhabi radicalization was also directed not so much in Saudi Arabia as it was directed outside. It was an outward projection of power. They intended to radicalize the subcontinent and so on and so forth. आज के दिन में भी if you go to Saudi Arabia and all, the general population there is, you would absolutely be questioning your understanding of the community. कि यार ये तो हम दूसरा सोच रहे थे, ये दूसरा निकल गया. Trust me, we've stayed there, so we know.
Even in Dubai is the same thing. I mean, even the older gen in
When I
Dubai
say
is...
Saudi, bindas, people. And when I say Saudi Arabia, I mean the entire Gulf area, which includes Jordan also, which includes this thing, United Arab Emirates, which includes
And Jordan
Bahrain,
is the direct descendant of the Prophet Muhammad, yeah.
Of Prophet Muhammad, yeah.
So
Jordanians, the Jordanian royal family.
Yeah, Saravani ji, thank you so much. With Saudi and other countries move towards Embridge, Saudi is part of that agreement. India does not want to say as of now whether we're part of that agreement or not, but God knows. Nitin Shukla ji, thank you. Yeah, just two more questions. Thank you so much for the super sticker. And one more, which is here, which says, Rohit Saab kehte hain, when will we see a crusade in the street of Europe?
Pata nahi, probably never. Even if it is, you would see a very muted form. Tommy Robinson and all. You've got to understand the background of crusade, dark ages, and there was a different class of people, there was a different breed of people during that era. And that era doesn't exist. That era is gone. The people of Europe has been deracinated, especially post Second World War. A lot of people don't even consider them Christians. So, in other words, if I were a missionary religion, if I were somebody who was looking at a very fertile conversion ground, Europe would be my number one target. And I can't, coming back to the real life now, I can't be blaming somebody if somebody is targeting Europe for the same reason. So, crusade, I don't know. I don't think in my lifetime, but yeah, there could be pockets of disturbances. There could be pockets of resistance from different right-wing factions of Europe. Probably in France, probably in England, probably in Germany. But if you're talking about, calling under the banner of the church, one pan-European army which is going to push the invaders out, that's probably not going to happen.
That's true. I agree with you. And one of the things that I'm, guys, by the way, I'm staying in a hotel, and when you stay in hotels, when there is power cut, before the DG comes on, it takes 10 seconds. So apologies for that. I don't have a UPS when I travel around the place. I will be back on my base tomorrow by lunchtime. So tomorrow afternoon podcast will be on my base again. Tonight you guys will have to probably Salpa adjust Madi, as they say in Karnataka. But thank you so much, Arindam Saab, for this discussion. Always a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you.
And all the best for your book, and let's see that coming out Fadafat Se Bahar, so that we can all read it and have a nice Zabardast discussion about it. All the best.
Thank you so much.
Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.
Jai Hind.